MONEYFM 89.3. Best of your money. Influence with Michelle Martin on Your Money, only on MONEYFM 89.3.
Today, we look at brain mapping. There's a company in Singapore that offers brain mapping sessions to clients from as young as 5 to as old as 98 to help people from a range of issues that they deal with: memory loss, insomnia, enhancing memory. How does this all work and how could it benefit you? The state-of-the-art training is offered by Mind Lab, created by Santiago Brand, a sports and clinical psychologist, and Sylvia Wetherill, a mental health counselor. Santiago, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Founder and clinical director of the Mind Lab, joining us live right now. Can you give us an overview of Mind Lab and how it came to be?
Well, Mind Lab came to be out of the combined 35-year experience of the three people who work there, who are Sylvia Wetherill, my associate, Jyoti, our trainer, and then myself, who've been doing this for 13 years. So combined, we have 35 years of experience. And we just decided to put our skills and combine them to help people basically achieve better mental health and physical health, more happiness, and overall optimal performance regardless of what they do in life, whether it's academic performance or at work performance or sports performance. And anyone with a brain can learn how to train the brain to optimize its functioning and do things better.
I love that. Anyone with a brain can learn to use it better. It's fantastic. So it's customized. You say there's no one-size-fits-all approach because we all have brains, but we all are using our brains differently, right?
That is correct. The wiring of the human brain is as unique as our fingerprints. No two brains in the world are wired the same way. And that's very good news because it makes everyone unique. And we use that to then personalize the brain training. First thing we do is a brain map. We look at your brain activity in real time. We have you do some tasks. We record your eyes open with your eyes closed. And then we produce 3D maps of your brain. And that will show us the areas of the brain that need fine-tuning and the areas of the brain that are working fine, what we can optimize to work better. Then based on that, we create a individualized protocol for each person depending on what they need.
How fascinating. How can you detect if a part of the brain isn't working well? Can you share an example?
Yeah, so what we do is we place a cap. It looks like a shower cap on the person's head. The process is non-invasive because we don't use anything to go into the brain. What the cap is doing is just recording the electrical patterns of the brain, what we call the EEG. Mm-hmm. That is shown on a screen in real time, and it shows 19 strategic regions of the brain. And it goes in electrical patterns that go up and down, and we read those patterns depending on where in time they're happening or where in the brain they're happening. It will show us whether somebody's struggling with sleep or memory or is feeling depressed or is anxious. And the information is quite objective. And we know it's objective because we've done thousands upon thousands of recording for people throughout the last 35 to 40 years. And we have learned to identify those abnormal patterns, those who are deviating from the ideal functioning of the brain. So that way we can identify that.
So you're saying, for example, if a person has insomnia and has difficulty falling asleep, a certain pattern shows up in these 3D maps?
That is correct. The brain has signatures, if you will. So there's specific signatures for insomnia. There's specific signatures for depression. There's specific signatures for memory issues or learning or anything that the brain does. And it's not one specific signature. We have groups of signatures. And, of course, they vary to different degrees from person to person, but it provides us with a really good objective, measurable idea of where the individual is and where they want to go and where we can take them.
So I'm on MONEYFM, so I have to ask the money question, Santiago. How much do these sessions cost? I understand you need about 6 sessions before you start to see any improvement, right, in terms of what you're trying to aim for?
Well, yes. Normally some people will feel the effects from the first session. I have had clients who come in, do the first session, they come to the second session, and they tell me, I slept for the first time in 20 years.
Wow.
I am focusing better. For most people, it takes between 3 to 5 sessions to start noticing the difference. mind you, some people will notice the difference more overtly, and for some people a little bit more subtle. But there's a difference that starts being noticed there. Now, we do a comprehensive assessment, which is $900. That's a brain map, a stress profile, a neurocognitive test, and a report. So you get all those for $900. The sessions for neurofeedback on average are about 1,150 per 10 sessions, and we usually work in blocks of 20 sessions, twice a week. So we train the person twice a week for 20 sessions, then we reassess, we compare the maps, and see how they're doing.
Okay, well, thanks for being so transparent with your pricing. Now, when you say a person can sometimes sleep better after one session, is it because of what they're doing during that 30-minute session, or the sort of insights they're getting from that session that they then have to practice in their daily life?
Well, normally it means the brain is quite flexible and it's going to adapt very well to the training. It likes what we're showing it. And again, some people will feel the effects after the first session. For most people, it takes a few sessions, between 3 to 5, to start noticing the difference. But it all really depends on how your brain takes the training. Just like when you go exercise, different people have different levels of endurance. So some people can withstand more, harder training and more demand from the trainer. Some people cannot. And the brain is the same thing. Some brains are better prepared. Some brains are not as prepared. So for some brains, it just takes a little longer to get there. For other brains, it just takes fewer sessions to get there. Okay.
And can you share some of the advantages that these sessions have been able to bring to people, real people?
Well, I have had kids, teenagers, or even younger students who come in and they're flunking out of school, and they turn into straight-edge students. So we have the student who's failing classes, and the teachers are sending notes to the parents, and they don't know what to do, and they learn to focus better, and they learn how to manage their time better, and they learn how to optimize the resources better, and they turn into straight-edge students. You know, back in Colombia, where I'm from, I remember having a specific case. There was an individual who was the victim of a terrorist attack. Car bomb went off. He suffered severe brain damage. And we did neurofeedback for about 6 months with him because it was a little bit more of a severe case. But then he went to Harvard and got an MBA and got his life back. Now he's married with children, and he's very happy. He's a very successful business person. So
that's fantastic.
We've seen people with epilepsy go medication-free, seizure-free after a few months of training.
What exactly are you doing during these training sessions? I mean, are you flashing images at my brain? Do I have to solve complex mathematical solutions or equations? What am I doing?
Well, in essence, what you're doing is you're teaching your networks, your neurons, to communicate better. When things are not working well for us, whatever that means, it's because our brain waves and our neurons are not communicating efficiently. So the electrical patterns of the brain are faulty. And we teach you to optimize those patterns. How do you do it? You're controlling feedback. Now, everything you do in neurofeedback, which is the brain training that we use, involves the brain and the brain alone, meaning you're not using your keyboard or your mouse or any other form of external controller. And what you're learning is you're driving a video game or a movie or some kind of interactive feedback with your brain alone. In the case of training with a movie, if you're watching the screen and you lose your focus or you get anxious, the screen gets dark and the movie stops. What you need to do is to teach your brain to produce the right pattern, the right electrical pattern, and you do it by breathing, by meditating, by doing some self-talk. If you do that and the brain goes the way we want to, the movie keeps on playing.
That's really interesting.
It's learning to teach your brain to identify when the brain is going in the direction we don't want, and it's hindering to your performance, and then to identify when your brain is going in the right direction, and that's optimal for your performance.
And then you get to experience how that feels, and you get to see how your brain is responding in real time. Is that it?
Correct. You're seeing it on a screen, and then you also feel it. People start reporting feeling more relaxed, feeling more focused with more energy, not being as reactive. Corporate people usually tell me, I went to a company barbecue on the weekend, and my coworkers and my boss were telling me how happy I looked. They tell me I look different. So you get feedback from your own body and your own brain, and then also from the people around you. Your wife, your husband, your kids, your coworkers, your friends will start noticing the difference as well. And that's the beauty of it, because it's quite tangible.
That's so fascinating. I wonder, you mentioned corporate executives experiencing your session. How could it help a CEO? We have many CEOs listening in.
Well, stress management, better leadership, optimal time management, more energy, more focus. So it helps you optimize whatever you do on a day-to-day basis. You want to manage your time better. You want to get things done quicker. You want to focus more. Do you want to not be as tense when you're negotiating? You want to become a better competitor. All those things we can enhance with the brain. It doesn't really matter what you want to do, because we're targeting pretty much everything the brain does, from sleep to focus to becoming a better salesperson to your personal skills. So for the corporate world, it's more of a peak performance involvement. Just like when an athlete comes and works with us, they want to win more. Mm-hmm. Well, that's what we help them do. We train the brain so they can win more.
Santiago Brand is founder and clinical director of Mind Lab. That's a company that we're shining the spotlight on today. So I understand this sounds like the ultimate in self-help, by the way, and self-improvement. And when I think self-improvement, I think Tony Robbins, who I believe has used neurofeedback for his work and his personal life. I wonder if you can share any other examples of, personalities, people in media out there that the audience might be able to relate to who have used neurofeedback, and what have they used neurofeedback for?
Yes, well, most of it comes from the sports world. Tony Robbins has recently endorsed neurofeedback, and he's claimed it's made him even better. It's optimized his performance even further. Now, if you look specifically at sports, Bryson DeChambeau, who is the number 5 player in the world right now, golfer, he openly talks about neurofeedback. Real Madrid Football Club uses neurofeedback. The Pentagon in the United States uses neurofeedback to train their soldiers. NASA has used neurofeedback for the past 20 years to train the astronauts. And Barry Sterman, who's one of the pioneers in the field, worked with some of the moonwalkers. So some of the people who walked on the moon and some of the pre-Apollo era astronauts have used neurofeedback. We're talking about something that is not new. Mm-hmm. It's evidence-based, it's very scientific, and it's been around for a while. What we've done is we've optimized the technology to make it better. And we have optimized the technology to make it more accessible to people nowadays. So you don't have to be quite wealthy or famous to access this. Anyone with a brain who wants to optimize and become better can access this.
I think with COVID, there's been so much attention to mental wellness, and there's a lot of concern about, how younger people are coping with the sudden change in the world around us and how that affects emotions and feelings. Can neurofeedback work with, when people are feeling blue, with depression, for example?
Yes, the 4 main elements we're seeing now with the pandemic are stress, anxiety, depression, and sleep. Sleep is a big one. Most of us, if not all of us, are not sleeping well. And neurofeedback can help you become more resilient. It will help you manage your stress and anxiety better. It will help you optimize your sleep. Now, I have had colleagues in the U.S. who have started using neurofeedback for people who were infected with COVID and survived it, but they have the neurological sequelae from it. So neurofeedback is being used now quite effectively to train and treat the effects and the sequelae from COVID brain. So we're reaching a lot of people, even if it is for prevention or if it is for the treatment itself.
Absolutely fascinating. So I know a lot of people who are incredibly disorganized who I would like to send your way. Can you help with organization?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It works very well with, children or people who tend to misplace objects. They are losing their keys and their cell phone, and they don't remember where they place objects. They start enhancing those executive functions, and they learn time management skills, and they remember where they put things, and they can organize their life around, whether it's mentally and physically as well. And, organization is one of the first skills we notice it gets improved over time when we're training the brain.
So interesting. I mean, can people come with a wish list of, Santiago, I'm disorganized, I forget names, I can't sleep at night. Can they come with their wish list, or is it all dictated by what you see in that first scan?
Oh, no, absolutely. They can come with a wish list. We want our clients to be proactive participants and get involved in the process. So this is not something that we as the clinicians and the professionals dictate 100%. The client has a lot of say and a lot of leeway in the decisions because, after all, it is their brain that we're training. And it is the client who is the real expert. We learn from them, and their brain gives us the guidance as to where we need to go.
Is what you're teaching any different from what meditation or meditation teachers have talked about over the years? Because it does seem to be about reducing stress, and we know how that's linked to breathing and centering yourself. So are there any differences between what you're, putting forward in your training sessions and what meditation has talked about for a long time?
Well, yes, the main one is that neurofeedback makes the process a lot quicker. For most people to learn to properly meditate and achieve that state can take months, if not years. And with neurofeedback, you can do it in a matter of, a couple of months, a few weeks. Now, that's not to say that neurofeedback is necessarily replacing meditation. If you're meditating and you use neurofeedback, you can get the most out of meditation too. So it can enhance and then reinforce the skills that you're acquiring using other techniques. But if you want to achieve neurofeedback get there faster, the meditation can then enhance the experience for you.
Are there any techniques that you can share with us on air when it comes to managing emotions? We know the workplace is such an emotional place.
Yes, I think the most important one is learning to set aside time for different feelings and emotions. And that's very important even today. And what I mean by that is people should identify moments when they're sad, moments when they're happy, moments when they're stressed, moments where they're feeling hopeless or helpless, and allow for some minutes or even a couple of days to feel that way. And I learned this from one of the firefighters who survived 9/11. He lost a lot of his colleagues and friends. And he says, after 9/11, I was working in Washington, D.C., so what I would do on the fly from New York to Washington, D.C., I would allow myself to grieve. When the plane landed, I know I was going to work, so I would just get my mind ready to work. And then after work, it was my time to feel happy. So he learned how to compartmentalize specific times to feel that way. Normally, society expects us to feel happy all the time, and feeling sad or stressed is frowned upon. And my message, or my main message to people is that it's okay not to be okay. And if you're sad, allow yourself to feel sad. Allow yourself to grieve. Allow yourself to feel a little hopeless. Just enough that then you have time to feel better. So just don't allow your feelings to get carried away and overdo it, but just allow yourself enough time. And as long as you're not doing anything illegal or immoral, it really shouldn't matter what people think, because people tend to be judgmental, and we tend to shy away from feeling a certain way because we wouldn't want to feel judged. Well, again, if you're not doing anything immoral or illegal, just allow yourself to be sad. It's okay not to be okay, and specifically during this time.
So identify your feelings and allow yourself to feel those feelings, but maybe give yourself a deadline with each feeling. Is that it?
Exactly. So give yourself time to feel happy. If you feel happy, don't feel guilty for feeling happy. Just enjoy as much as you can. And if you're feeling sad, don't feel guilty about feeling sad. Just allow yourself to do it and then move on with a different emotion. You just do something that releases and helps you manage the stress. Go to the movies, go for a walk, exercise, go for dinner with friends, engage in writing or drawing. Whatever it is, it's important to feel emotion, allow yourself some time to experience it, understand that it's okay, it's part of the human experience, and then just allow yourself to feel better when the time is right.
Helping people look into their brains and learn to use their brains better. He's Santiago Brand, founder and clinical director of Mind Lab. This is Influence. I'm Michelle Martin.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at moneyfm893.sg or download our audio app. That's AWEDIO. Available on Google Play or the